In the remote and quiet valley of Carvahall, nestled at the edge of the mighty Spine Mountains, a young boy named Eragon lived a life defined by simplicity and routine. He toiled alongside his uncle Garrow and cousin Roran, their days filled with the rhythms of farming and the necessity of hunting in the wild, untamed forests. The world beyond Carvahall was, to Eragon, a tapestry of rumors and legends, stories told by wandering traders or the old village storyteller, Brom. Yet, within Eragon, a restless curiosity always stirred, and a longing for adventure, though he scarcely dared admit it, simmered quietly beneath the surface. One fateful day, as Eragon threaded his way through the dense expanse of the Spine in pursuit of game, a thunderous explosion shattered the stillness. When the chaos subsided, he discovered an object unlike any other, a smooth, polished stone, deep blue and flecked with white, lying in the scorched earth. Fascinated and hopeful, Eragon brought the stone home, thinking perhaps he could barter it for food to ease his family's hardship. But the village traders and wise folk could make nothing of it, and so the stone remained with Eragon, an enigma, glowing with a quiet, otherworldly light. Days passed, and then, one night, the impossible happened. The stone cracked open, and from within emerged a small, sapphire-scaled dragon. Eragon, awestruck and terrified, kept the creature a secret, nurturing it in the shadows. As the dragon grew, so too did the bond between them, a silent link that allowed thoughts and emotions to flow between boy and beast. Eragon named her Saphira, a name that felt both ancient and right, as if he'd always known it. But the peace of Carvahall could not withstand such a secret. The hatching of Saphira set in motion ancient forces, and soon, two monstrous figures, the Razak, descended upon the village. Silent and merciless, they sought the dragon's egg, wielding a malice that seemed older than the mountains themselves. Unable to find Saphira, they exacted vengeance. In a single, brutal night, they destroyed Eragon's home and murdered Garrow, leaving ruin in their wake. Grief-stricken and burning with vengeance, Eragon vowed to hunt down the Razak and make them pay for their crimes. He was joined by Brom, the village storyteller, whose knowledge of dragons and the old ways proved both mysterious and invaluable. Together with Saphira, they set out into a world wider and more dangerous than Eragon had ever imagined. Along the way, Brom revealed truths that shattered Eragon's understanding of his place in the world. He spoke of the ancient order of dragon riders, guardians of peace who had once brought prosperity to the land, only to be betrayed and slaughtered by Galbatorix, the mad king now ruling Alagaësia with an iron fist. Their journey was a crucible. Brom taught Eragon the basics of combat, ancient languages, and magic, skills every rider once possessed. Through hardship and peril, Eragon grew stronger, his bond with Saphira deepening. Yet the Razak proved elusive, always a step ahead, leaving destruction in their path. When the confrontation finally came, it was disastrous. Brom sacrificed his life to save Eragon, revealing in his final moments that he himself had been a rider, and that all his hope now rested on Eragon's young shoulders. Alone and reeling, Eragon found an unlikely ally in Murtaugh, a skilled but secretive warrior who seemed both friend and enigma. Together they pressed on, driven by the memory of Brom, the task of vengeance, and the hope that somewhere, beyond the horizon, there might be allies to aid them. Their quest took a dramatic turn when they learned of a mysterious prisoner held in the fortress of Gilead, a woman named Arya, whose beauty and aura of nobility suggested she was no ordinary captive. Eragon's attempts to rescue her ended with his own capture, and he fell into the hands of Durza, a shade whose red eyes glimmered with unnatural malice. Durza's sorcery was overwhelming, his cruelty boundless, and Eragon's mind and body were pushed to the brink. It was only through the daring intervention of Murtaugh and Saphira that Eragon escaped, Arya in tow. Together, battered but unbroken, they fled toward the Beor Mountains, seeking sanctuary with the Varden, a rebel force determined to overthrow Galbatorix. Their journey was a race against time. Arya was grievously poisoned, and only the elves' healing gifts at Varden's stronghold could save her life. At last, after perilous travels and near defeat, the group reached Tronjheim, a mountain fortress carved from living stone and home, not only to the Varden, but also to the ancient and proud race of dwarves. Here, Eragon was immersed in a world of intrigue and suspicion. The Varden's leader, Ajihad, demanded answers, and the fate of the resistance hung in the balance. Eragon was no longer just a boy. He was a symbol, the first new rider in generations, and with that came both adulation and doubt. Within Tronjheim's halls, Eragon grappled with wounds both seen and unseen. The mental attack by Durza had left scars on his soul, and the responsibilities pressing upon him felt impossibly heavy. Was he truly worthy of being a rider? Could a farm boy from Carvahall stand against the might of Galbatorix, the tyranny of the Empire, and the darkness within himself? But destiny would not wait for Eragon. Tuchiash. Shin Fides. Galbatorix, ever watchful, learned of the Varden's new champion and sent a vast army of Urgals, horrific, horned monsters bred for war, to crush the resistance once and for all. The battle for Tronjheim erupted with a fury that shook the mountain to its core. Eragon, astride Saphira, soared into the fray, no longer a mere apprentice, but a rider in truth. Blades clashed, magic blazed, and the very air was thick with the cries of the wounded and the roar of dragons. In the chaos, Eragon faced Durza once more. The Shade's power seemed insurmountable, his sorcery a tide of shadow and pain. Yet, remembering Brom's teachings and drawing strength from Saphira and Arya, Eragon found the Shade's one weakness, a blow to the heart, struck from behind. With a final desperate thrust, Eragon ended Durza's reign, but not before suffering a wound across his back, a scar that would forever remind him of the battle's cost. As dawn broke over the bloodied fields, the Varden celebrated their hard-won victory. Eragon was hailed as Shurtugel, the dragon rider, champion of the light. Yet, for all the accolades, he knew the struggle had only begun. Galbatorix still ruled, the Empire stood strong, and Eragon's own understanding of his power was only just awakening. In the silence after the storm, Eragon dreamed of a voice calling him to Elismera, the elven homeland, where greater knowledge and deeper magic awaited. The path before him forked. He could return to the quiet life he once knew, or he could step forward into the unknown, risking pain and loss for the chance to free Alagaësia from darkness. Eragon did not hesitate. He had seen too much, lost too much, and learned that true strength was not measured by birth or past, but by the choices one dared to make. The boy from Carvahall was gone. In his place stood a rider, forged by sorrow, hope, and the unbreakable bond with his dragon. With Saphira by his side, Eragon looked out across the land and saw not just a kingdom in chains, but a future waiting to be claimed. He understood now that his journey was only beginning. There would be more battles, more losses, and greater challenges than he could imagine. But for the first time, he faced them not with fear, but with resolve. The story of Eragon and Saphira, the story of hope kindled from the ashes of despair, was far from over. And somewhere, in the shadows of Alagaësia, the forces of darkness gathered, knowing that a new rider had risen, and with him the chance for a world reborn. Thus, with the wounds of the past still aching but the promise of the future burning bright, Eragon accepted his destiny. He was a dragon rider, and he would not turn back. The adventure he longed for had found him, sweeping him into a legend that would echo through the halls of time. And so, Eragon's tale continued, written not in the comfort of fields and hearth, but in the fire of battle, the silence of ancient forests, and the soaring flight of dragons, where every choice would shape the fate of an empire, and every heartbeat would ring with the promise of freedom.